Private First Class Sarah Thompson had exactly 4 seconds to make a decision that would define the rest of her military career. Rain hammered the training yard like 1,000 tiny fists. Her rifle, the one she had cleaned every night for 11 weeks, the one with her initials scratched faintly into the stock, lay broken in 2 pieces at Sergeant Hawkins' feet. He had snapped it in half with his bare hands, right in front of her platoon, and now he was screaming at her to finish the exercise anyway. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Sarah had grown up the youngest of 4 sisters in a small town where nobody expected much from girls who liked engines more than makeup. She joined the army not for glory, but for proof. Proof to herself that she belonged somewhere bigger than the life everyone assumed she'd settle for. 11 weeks into basic training, she had learned to run on 3 hours of sleep, to swallow her fear before it reached her throat, and to never, ever let them see her cry. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. Standing in ankle-deep mud with a broken weapon and a drill sergeant whose voice cracked through the storm like thunder splitting a tree. "You lose your weapon. You lose your mission," Hawkins bellowed, rain streaming down the brim of his campaign hat. "Command doesn't care about your excuses, Thompson. The extraction point doesn't wait for broken rifles." Behind him, the rest of the platoon stood frozen, some smirking, most holding their breath. Somewhere beyond the barbed wire, a searchlight swept lazily across the yard, indifferent to the small human drama unfolding beneath it. Sarah felt her heart slam against her ribs. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something rawer, something that tasted like humiliation and defiance mixed together in the back of her throat. She thought about quitting, just for a second. The thought slid through her mind like a shadow crossing water, gone before she could hold on to it. She thought she'd never find the strength to keep going. She was wrong. Sarah looked down at the 2 broken halves of her rifle, then up at Hawkins' furious, rain-soaked face, and something shifted inside her. Quiet, deliberate, unshakable. She dropped the useless pieces of wood and metal into the mud. If the mission needed hands, she would give it hands. "Sergeant," she said, her voice steady despite the storm, "tell me the objective." A murmur rippled through the watching soldiers. Nobody expected that. Hawkins' jaw tightened, and for a moment, just a moment, something flickered behind his eyes. Was it doubt? Respect? Even he wasn't sure. "Extraction tunnel, 200 meters east," he barked. "Barbed wire, obstacle course, live simulation charges. You want to complete this mission unarmed, Thompson? Fine. Show me." The crowd of recruits fell into a tense, electric silence, the kind that presses against your eardrums. Sarah didn't look back. She ran. Mud sucked at her boots with every stride, the storm blinding her, cold rain slicing sideways across her face. She reached the first obstacle, a coil of barbed wire slick with rainwater, and threw herself beneath it, feeling the metal barbs graze her shoulder, tearing fabric, drawing a thin line of blood she didn't have time to notice. Somewhere behind her, she heard boots pounding, other recruits catching up, their voices rising into something between cheering and disbelief. This was the part where the audience questions everything. Was Hawkins cruel for breaking her rifle, or was he handing her the one lesson no manual could teach? That missions don't stop when your tools fail, only when your will does. Some would call it discipline. Others would call it needless brutality. Perhaps it was both, tangled together the way real leadership so often is. Sarah reached the second obstacle, a wall of splintered wood slick with rain, and hauled herself up using nothing but raw upper body strength, her fingers screaming, her boots scrabbling for purchase. The floodlights from the guard tower swept across her at the exact moment she crested the top, illuminating her face, streaked with mud, rain, and something that looked almost like triumph. Then came the tunnel. She saw it ahead, dark and yawning in the storm, half submerged in muddy water, a lone figure already crawling through from another angle. This was the extraction point. This was everything. Sarah dropped to her knees and pushed forward into the black, cold water rising to her elbows, darkness swallowing her whole. For a terrifying second, there was nothing, no sound, no light, only the frantic rhythm of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears like a war drum. Then her hand found solid ground on the other side, and she pulled herself out into the driving rain, gasping, alive, victorious. The platoon erupted. Not mockery this time. Applause, real applause, soldiers pounding their fists against their thighs in the universal language of respect earned, not given. Even Hawkins, standing at the finish line with his arms crossed, allowed the faintest curve of a smile to break through his weathered face. Not bad, Thompson, he said quietly, so only she could hear. Not bad at all. Because sometimes the world breaks the very thing you thought defined you, only to reveal that you were never defined by it at all. Sarah stood there in the mud and the rain, chest heaving, blood and rainwater mixing on her shoulder, and understood something no rifle could have taught her. Strength isn't something they hand you. It's something they can never take away, no matter how hard they try to break it. If this story moved you even a little, tell me below, have you ever had to finish something with nothing but your own two hands? I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear your story. And if you believe in second chances, broken things, and people who rise anyway, subscribe and stay, because the next story might just be the one that changes how you see yourself.